live button a while ago. It's still just. Hi, I'm David with EV World News. We talk about electric vehicles, green energy, and the stock markets. And I'm back today on a Thursday with our resident engineer, Mike Herzog. How's it going today, Mike?
I'm doing great, David. It's been a couple of weeks, a new day. I got new office behind me. I mean, it's not glamorous. It's my house, but it's everything changed in 2 weeks.
What? Oh, because
no, I just moved out of the office. I was never there anymore, so it was kind of didn't need the space anymore.
But you don't have access to bowling anymore.
There isn't bowling and karaoke 10 feet above my head right now. Just a dog who's hopefully going to be quiet.
I pin mine up. Or I put them in a bedroom when I do the show, because otherwise they're going to hit on every dog that walks past. Because I have this big greenway that passes behind my house, and people constantly walking their dogs, and my dogs are upset if they have a dog, or if they don't have a dog,
or if they don't have a dog, or if they're walking, or if they're not walking, or
occasionally they bark at a bird or a squirrel, so it gets pretty annoying pretty fast. Anyways, all right. SpaceX files for historic IPO, biggest ever at 1.5 trillion valuation.
I was going to say, is there a T on that? There is a T on that.
So SpaceX targets a $75 to $80 billion raise, which isn't really that much for them, in my opinion, at a 1.5 trillion valuation. I thought it was going at 1.75, but anyways, making it the biggest IPO in history. But they lost 1.3 billion last quarter on 4.7 billion in revenue, versus when Saudi's Aramco IPO'd, they had 21 billion profit, and it was a similar valuation.
Okay, so Aramco, I was going to ask, who was the previous high? It was Aramco?
It was Aramco, yeah. Aramco for a long time was the biggest private company in the world. And here's kind of the thing, Musk is considered to be the world's wealthiest person, but there's people have said and Musk has himself said that he thinks Putin's wealthier, but at least that was before the war started.
Okay.
5 years ago now. It's really hard to fathom it's gone on for so long. We're in the fifth year. No, I think it's been 4 years and some change.
Yeah.
Because it started in March 4 years ago, a little over 4 years ago. Mm-hmm. Anyways, but the Saud family, there's a family out of Hong Kong I'm suspicious is wealthier. That I have met so many people that work for the Lee family office out of Hong Kong that I just have a hard time.
You have a hard time, what's going on?
I've met more people who work for them than I've met people who work for Musk. And when I say work for them, these are usually lawyers, investment officers, other people I've met at conferences, and I'm like, holy crap! How many people
people are in
work for this family office? I mean,
it's been years now, and I'm sure they're down the list, but forever, the Walton family. I mean, they were individually, there was 3 or 4 of them in the top 10 richest in the U.S. for a long, long time. That's all changed. That was 20 years ago, but yeah, it's that family money out there. Holy smokes!
Well, and then you look at the Rothschild family, which is a collection. But I remember meeting one of the DuPont family members that he managed $30 billion for something like 250 family descendants.
Yeah, for how that pyramid has kind of gone down on everybody, and that's if you can claim you're in that chain.
Pierre DuPont.
There you go.
I met him a couple times. He's friends with my buddy Henry, and if I'm out to dinner with Henry, I've had him come up and just start chatting with us.
Just
randomly, yeah.
Not one of those random, DuPont, are you related? Yes, I am.
No,
that's a done. Yeah.
In the nuclear company, at some point there may have been a DuPont in one of our meetings, and it was a 21 or 22-year-old that wants to intern, and so yeah, he is that family.
Yes.
It's not just coincidence.
You can trace that line back.
Yeah. Why we were including him. Yeah. But anyways, Musk will get 85% voting control, and could earn the largest pay package ever if he establishes a 1 million person colony on Mars. Now, in truth, he has to accomplish two things. He has to get the valuation of the company above, I think it's 7.5 trillion. So he has to seriously increase the valuation and get 1 million people living in the colony on Mars. And the thing is, Musk is just over 50 years old. So let's just say with modern science, he's able to be functional as CEO for another 50 years. That gives him, a while to try to accomplish this. But still, to me, there has to be a quantum leap. It's not enough to do what he's doing with Starship. I mean, we really need like a Star Trek.
Oh, yeah. No, there has to be a huge breakthrough.
We discover wormhole technology or light speed, something.
It's just the timing to get that much material, and just something like that, the logistics of it.
We're going to have the capability
moving out of your house. Right?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I was watching somebody do a demonstration of the Earth to where satellites are versus traveling to the moon. And he had like a string, and it's like, okay, so here's Earth, and spreading out the hands like about 4 or 5 feet from the Earth. This was where the satellites are, but to get to the moon, it was like 50 feet that way. This is another 50 feet. It was like that's how altitude.
That's how big
the moon really is. It's not nearly as close as you might.
Well, and I didn't even have that perspective, because you think about this, like, well, we launch stuff why don't we just go to the moon? But it's like, oh no, it's a big deal.
It's a lot farther away, and when we're putting something in orbit, we're still circling in that slingshot around the Earth, but you got to get out into space, all the way out to the moon. There's apparently a lot of damn space between where satellites sit and where the moon's at.
Yeah. And with this SpaceX launch, the IPO coming out, I'm excited about that. Lunar, the potential of developing a lunar base, and really putting things out there. I think that's going to be really, really telling. And tying this all back to electric vehicles, it's all part of the same ecosystem. It's all energy development, energy density, improving batteries, improving solar capture. All of these things are all tied together, and they're all going to co-benefit. Anything going into space, anything going into the moon today is benefiting from developments in battery technology. Everything that gets developed for that, EVs are going to benefit on the backside, and it's all especially when the Musk ecosphere, like, it's all connected. It's all connected in there.
So I saw something interesting. So you know how I really like the fancy critical minerals that we can't refine, or the supply chain doesn't exist.
The supply chain, basically, take an element and add a 7 or an 8 or a 9 or something.
Yeah, we've talked about how you need lithium-6 to be able to mix it in a fusion reaction. In a fission reaction, and create tritium. Well, I was reading a lady on LinkedIn. She was carrying it even farther. So when tritium decays, because it has a short half-life of like 10 years or something like that. When it decays, it produces something called helium-3. Okay. Helium-3 is just as expensive. But to get helium-3, you have to go through the whole lithium-6 to tritium, to get tritium to decay, to get helium-3. And she's claiming, dilithium crystals on the moon base. Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah, well, since we're talking Star Trek.
Yeah. Thank you, Owen. We get that reference.
That's good. But anyways, she says apparently there's supposed to be helium-3 on the moon, and we're going to be able to mine it.
Yeah, no, I've heard that. I've heard that's the big deal with the moon. With everything, it's supposed to be neutral. That was the space treaty, but people are already eyeing it, saying that there's actually some pretty good minerals up there.
Well, so if they have helium-3, that means there has to be tritium that's depleting there. Yeah. So it's just it's just funny. It's like, well, do they have tritium that's depleting on the moon? Tritium's worth $50,000 a gram. This other stuff was worth about half as much as tritium. But the good news, if your tritium spoils, you've got helium-3 and you can sell it.
So if you leave it on the shelf too long, it turns
it rots into helium-3.
your wine turned into expensive vinegar.
That's
good.
Can we just make a giant solar net to catch a solar wind for helium-3? Yeah, I don't think it works like that. Yeah, I mean, well, I'm getting into some super complicated, like, you're not just going to have a lab where you're doing this whole, first you got to refine lithium into lithium-6, then put it in a fission reactor and convert it into tritium, and then have it rot, over time into helium-3. But I don't even know what helium-3 is used for. It must be in the supply chain for something else. But
it's I think it's used for optics and things like that, where helium is used today, and there's kind of that scarcity in helium. It's used in high pressure optics. I'm not 100% sure. All I'm thinking is, do you ever remember the movie Scarface, where he goes through that thing? Is first you get the drugs, then you get the money, then you get the power, so it's first you get the lithium-6, then you get the tritium, then you get and that's your big cycle there to be your
we're getting too sciencey now.
Your mineral.
I'm really out of my lane talking science, but anyways. Where were we at? Oh, here's some major red flags for Musk. Okay. Starlink satellite business is subsidizing the rocket and XAI losses. Tesla's 70% profit drop shows Musk's public company track record. Competition is heating up from India, China, and NASA's Artemis comeback. It's like, I don't know. This was from Fortune magazine.
Yeah.
Just like, really, you're going to diss Elon Musk? It's like the only thing that Musk is bad about is giving us good time estimates.
Dates. He can't hit a date. Yeah. I mean, like I said, I am not an Elon Musk fan for a lot of reasons, but it's what he has done for the electric vehicle industry. He's doing the same thing for space, and I've read things about him, like that was his passion as a kid. Like he always wanted rockets and space and everything, and now he's following through, and he's the hype man. I mean, he is hyping it up and driving everybody else forward.
The thing is, he's with Tesla. He's a public company and has been for a long time, and so he's pressed for investors to give a date for when these things with cars are going to be released, and he's almost always wrong. Okay, and if he had his way, he would never give dates. He'd just say it's going to happen.
Yeah.
And he may have ideas, but,
billions. That's good. We'll catch all the big radiation net out there. I bet we could catch a lot on the solar breeze.
Yeah. Oh, God. I was talking to somebody yesterday. Hey, we got this great thing where we can give free street lights to cities. And it's like, what, really? And it's like, yeah. And we're going to have, is there going to be solar on them? And it's like, yeah, there's going to be solar on them. And there's going to be a computer inside them too. All of the street lights are basically going to be a data center. And like, I don't know how much computing power. It's like, are those going to be noisy? And, my other thing was, could we also put a wind turbine on the top? Now, I actually did some searching. There are some set up this way. This gets really good. I found some for sale in China. You get manufactured, so your city can buy these, but it is a street light, fully functional street light with a small solar panel with a little wind turbine on top and a surveillance camera.
Okay. Yeah.
And so that way the Chinese can monitor your neighborhood, remotely with this
everywhere.
Yeah. That was my first thing.
During a blackout.
That's going to go over real well. We're going to have Chinese surveillance cameras on this, but this wasn't the idea. But the idea was to be able to do some type of decentralized,
like microcomputing and basically, and it's those concepts aren't foreign. Like those mesh network concepts where you just have it's going back to the net. I mean, you have all of these little points there and redundant paths and really good latency and like it's not the craziest idea, but like it's just logistically, God, how stuff like that gets so complicated in a hurry, and whatever their operational estimate is to get it off the ground, I mean, double it, maybe triple it.
Well,
By the time
let's just
everything's said and
say
done.
you don't connect it to the grid at all. Okay, so it's a fully containerized light pole,
Yeah.
computer in it that maybe it uploads to Starlink or something like that
Mhm.
to do its data transmission, and then you mix that with the solar and the wind to keep it going, and a battery in the pole.
Yeah.
I'm just sitting there thinking, it's like, if you got a bunch of computers running in there, well, one of my first thoughts was theft, and somebody is doing this already in the UK, and they have it set that the $2,000 set of chips in there
Mhm.
fries if somebody breaks into it. I was like, well, what about if a technician accidentally?
What if somebody's supposed to be in there?
Yeah, so like, yeah, that was kind of one of my first thoughts. It's like, I've had a lot of air conditioners stolen for $20 worth of copper, and
Yeah.
and it cost me $1,000 to replace the damn thing out back, the air conditioning condenser, and that gets old fast when they're only getting $20 for what they took your thing for. I don't know, but I was just sitting there with the street lights. Like, people are going to start stealing the damn street lights. That'll be the next thing. Yeah, but anyway, I thought it was a pretty cool idea. Let's see here. Have we ever talked about deep fission?
Deep.
Deep fission. So deep fission is a company that's talked about putting third gen plus reactors a mile underneath the earth. So they're trying to make people feel the safety factor of having it buried down a borehole a mile down, which I think is a little excessive. A mile
seems pretty far, right?
I mean, I think you'd probably be good with 100 yards. Maybe 300 feet. I don't think you really need to go 5,000 feet.
Well, and that's what, God, can we even dig that deep?
Yeah,
I mean, that's really far.
Yeah. So, anyways, deep fission filed with the SEC for a $150 million public listing. It's targeting a valuation of up to $1.66 billion and joins a growing list of energy startups going public with unproven technology. It's not necessarily unproven technology. It's not like third generation nuclear doesn't exist. It's all these people creating it in different form factors, right? That's the challenge. I don't know how big of a borehole you got to have. When we start talking about decent size reactors, I mean, when I was looking at that 40 kilowatt hour HTGR fourth gen reactor, it was still taking up a full 20-foot cube for the back of a truck. And
that's what I mean. The logistics of digging a mile deep for
Yeah.
anything to set something down there, that's a lot. That's a big project.
It is, and I that's why I was saying I don't know. Do you really need to go a mile down? I mean, when we're talking fourth gen, we're still talking about we're still talking about going 50 feet down, 15 meters, but that was more to prevent terrorist attacks, things like that.
Yeah.
Bad plane crash, whatever. It was more
you got some natural isolation and insulation from all that. Yeah.
Right. And I don't know. And still, you're talking a 50 megawatt reactor. You're not talking about super big deal.
Okay.
1 mile for.
So he's basically saying it's pretty common to go down a mile.
Yeah.
With the 33-inch hole. Okay. I didn't know. I thought that'd be a huge.
It's going to be an interesting design to be fitting in a 33-inch hole. But anyways, I always find it kind of unfair to say nuclear is unproven tech when it's like, you guys keep forgetting about the U.S. Navy. And it's like, this isn't unproven technology when the Navy's not ever had an
I wonder
accident.
how many submarines and aircraft carriers and battleships do we have baby reactors on them right now around the world?
Yeah.
In horrible conditions. Yeah.
Nuclear icebreakers make a lot of sense, but it's interesting. But other than the submarines and the aircraft carriers, they've tried like nuclear cruisers and some other things. And a lot of the idea there was to create a ship that could keep up with a aircraft carrier. Because while the top speed is undisclosed on aircraft carriers, I bet they get up to like 40 knots. Yeah, because I've heard stories when they said they were going at flank speed that the rest of the fleet could not keep up.
That's pretty impressive. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, something that large.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you know, I guess at that size of a ship, it's not feeling the energy of the ocean the same way the other ships are too. But still, that's a big deal. But I thought that was it's interesting they're doing their IPO. I see a lot of these IPOs in the nuclear space, and they all seem to be going to about $1.5 billion. Not 1.5 trillion like SpaceX, but 1.5 billion valuation pretty quick. There was one I followed a while back called NKLR, and they're making a 1 megawatt small reactor that, much like that 40 kilowatt one, is going to produce like 6 megawatts of heat as well as the other. And I think theirs was only like a 20-foot shipping container too. Okay, so I see different ones, but they were trying to, once again, when you're doing 1 megawatt, you're really targeting it at a job site or something really specific.
You have to, it's a specific application, and typically in the middle of nowhere, where those things tend to make sense, where fuel supply chain is an issue.
Right. Yeah. And, well, remote places, things like that. But anyways, all right. So Tesla has been trying to sell FSD, they've been trying to license it to other automakers, and no other major automakers have been interested in licensing full self-driving
version.
And Musk says, I've tried to warn them and even offered to license it to them, but they don't want it. It's crazy. And the key reasons, it's still level 2, not level 3, federal investigations, lawsuits, incompatible safety validation approaches, branding risk from full self-driving name that overpromises. Ford CEO Jim Farley ended talks, sees Waymo as a better partner, forces Tesla to rely entirely on its own fleet for data, must accelerate robotaxi rollout to compete. And that may just be that they don't want to deal with Tesla.
Okay, that could be a big piece of it.
Yeah. But who knows? All right. Here is a big stat. Global EV sales hit 21 million cars in 2025. 1 in 4 new cars are now electric worldwide.
Are now electric.
Yeah, so past the 25% mark. 25% market share. China hit 50% for the first time. Electric heavy freight trucks tripled to 200,000 units. Europe's fastest growth was in Germany, Spain, and Italy. Let's see. Norway hit 96%. EU electric
96%.
Yeah.
Well, they're what are they 100% by 2030? Something like that?
Yeah.
I mean, so it sounds like they're well on their way. Or is it 2028? That's incredible. That's incredible.
So European Union electric truck sales are up 40%, but that now only is 3% of all trucks on the road.
Still, yeah. But that's on the road, not new sales, which we know there's going to be a big curve to get the vehicles on the road up to those numbers.
So since the U.S. eliminated federal tax credits, U.S. sales are down 2%. But emerging markets outside China are up 80%. India is up 75%. Indonesia up 125%. Mexico went up 300%. Yeah. I mean, it's just funny. It's like the U.S. is the one that just keeps lagging behind.
And boy, if you could hear those numbers or read that article and not think EVs are just booming, despite what you hear domestically about it, that's the direction the world's going. I mean, that's where the market is going right now, and we're going to get left behind if we're not already.
All right. Clean energy now meets all global electricity demand growth. Clean power scaling fast enough to absorb all rising global electricity demand. Fossil generation now flat before inevitable decline. Solar is leading that new power generation. Battery storage is providing system flexibility at scale. China and India seeing fossil generation decline even as demand grows. That's a pretty big deal.
That's a big deal. That's a big deal. Now, from my background, those articles are a little misleading because I always think about it. There's kind of two elements. There's energy, which is just you look at the year as a whole. How many electrons did you need? Throughout the entire year, doesn't matter when they were produced, when they were needed, doesn't match. And most of the time, that's what's being sourced by these articles. Hey, there's enough energy being produced, but unfortunately, it's the mismatch.
They're producing it in the summer and not in the winter.
Yep. And it's things like that and that's where batteries do help. I mean, that's always the argument, but it's just you hear something like that and it really turns into like, well, are we going to do it? It's like, no, it's still, you need peaking plants. You still need base load generation. We're not there yet. It's a positive article. It's a great thing to hear, but there's a lot of room to go before we actually cover every second of the year with that.
Mike, I've learned a lot from working with you in the last couple of years, with how energy math goes, and considering I think I'm a pretty educated guy and I'm bright in a lot of spaces. Considering how little I realized that I knew about how electrical math actually works and how, we all know the sun doesn't shine all the time, right? That doesn't take anything, any special background or whatever, and we know the wind doesn't blow all the time, but knowing, like about the different efficiency levels of solar and all that. Now, when I explain to somebody, it's like, 7 gigawatts of solar is about the equivalent of a gigawatt of nuclear. It's kind of a rough estimate.
Yeah. When everything's said and done, it's about,
But the nuclear is on all the time and the solar goes through peaks and valleys, and it's just that, but the solar overall is probably a little cheaper to produce.
Cheaper, and it's out there, the low maintenance, all of these things. It's just,
But then when we start talking about, getting it to the end customer, we start talking about transmission and infrastructure and profit for the utility company. It almost seems like the actual cost to produce electricity is almost inconsequential, especially when you start getting into some parts of the country like California, where energy is like 35 cents a kilowatt or whatever. And it's like, but energy production was only a nickel.
Yeah. It's everybody else. It's what it takes to get it there, and congestion and adding new facilities and riders. And it's complicated.
Yeah. And so while I'm obviously a big fan of nuclear, it's like, well, if nuclear produces power for 6-7 cents a kilowatt, it's still going to get delivered to you for 30 cents.
For 30 cents. Yeah. Because it just snowballs up and down.
Yeah. Well, Owen, I was talking about this thing with the street lights, and I was telling the guys, it's like, well, why not put a wind turbine on there too? Because that way in the middle of the night, when the wind's blowing the fastest, you're going to have more energy then. It would make a little sense and have a little one. I mean, I've got solar on my house. I don't know, a wind turbine on my house, but it'd be a lot more complicated to have a wind farm on my roof.
Well, and it's not to get too deep into the weeds on that, but forever, that's why solar was so promising, because we tend to be a summer peaking nation, which means when it's the hottest and the sun gets out, it's when demand is the highest. It's driven by AC.
Right.
It was like solar, as opposed to wind, when it's the windiest in the middle of the night in the spring. Solar lines up pretty well with it. However,
it lines up with their
data centers changing and everything, and the push towards electrification. The real challenge we're seeing, it's winter. Winter is becoming just as prominent as summer from a peak standpoint, and solar does not line up well with that. So it's just everything's changing at once, and we're trying to make it all line up together.
I've heard people talk about all these ideas about lining up little wind turbines beside the roads and have all of the energy of the cars driving down the road, that wind be putting some air to the wind turbines. It's like it's not the worst idea I've ever heard.
Oh, there's so many good ideas out there, like things like that, and collecting in the street light. And I think something that maybe people don't realize is how engineered the grid is and a power plant is, and like a coal plant today or a gas plant, and how every little erg of energy is recovered. And you're just the way they route pipes next to one another. So heat is transferred between pipes, and you're not losing any of that energy. So it's to be competitive in today's market, to go through it. It's up against something that is so hard, or I don't want to say over engineered, but engineered out there to be as efficient as possible. It's tough to get off the ground and compete against that.
Yeah. We need smart medians. So, and I know you live in Arizona. I always kind of laugh because when you're in Arizona, every now and then you're going on the road and it's like, that Joshua tree didn't look real. And you can tell it actually is a cell phone tower or it's something, but it's like it's a little too big to be an actual Joshua tree, and it's actually it's something else. It's something mechanical, but it's designed to look like the desert, and he's like, yeah, but it's got a panel down there, at the bottom, where somebody can access it. It's obviously a cell phone tower or something.
That's funny.
Yeah. All right. Let's see here. Trump says global warming may be a good thing. This is a Bill article. All right. I know Bill's watching. Okay. This is an EV World exclusive. Trump's May 18th Truth Social post during record heat regulatory battles, reframing climate as cultural conflict versus establishment narrative. Scientific consensus unanimous. NASA, NOAA, IPCC, WMO. Warming drives deadlier heat, stronger storms, sea rise, crop losses, economic damage, even northern regions hit by wildfires, fires, and permafrost thaw. Political strategy transformed planetary risk into identity test. Physical reality pushed to margins of political performance. All right. Let's
future oceanfront property.
Yeah, Biden. Yeah, I don't know. I always really wonder, I see the thing that's like, oh, well, then why did the Obamas buy beachfront property? They were so convinced that the oceans were rising. I think it's really hard to tell. I mean, I look at the Vikings came to North America. They abandoned their colony here to piers when we had climate change. It got colder. The world got colder, and we're still in that cold period. So sometimes it's hard to establish, some of these things. But I mean, I have a lot of reasons for liking green energy. I mean, we talk about this all the time. It's like, whether you believe in climate change or not, do you believe in pollution? Do you believe in air quality?
Yeah.
I mean, you're obviously not trying to sit behind diesel trucks all the time. There's a reason why you're not supposed to run your car in the garage with the garage door closed.
The garage door
right?
closed.
There's reasons for these things. Yeah,
reasons. I mean, I think we can all generally agree, like, we don't want lead in our rivers. Things like that. It's just we can agree on that stuff, right?
Yeah. But there's been just some weirdness. I mean, Trump's hate for offshore wind and all these other things, it just doesn't make sense. What if breaking the ocean currents just makes an ice age? Well, the thing was, when I was a kid, the news articles were all about how we were going into the next global ice age. And this was actually, I was in college. I remember because I lived through the coldest winter ever in North Dakota. And this was like in 88.
That's saying something too.
Yeah, it was the coldest ever winter on record. And we had a stretch where it never got warmer than -20 for 2 straight weeks. And we were in the newspaper actually was talking about how the world was entering a new global ice age. And I remember people telling me they rode 4-wheelers on lakes in Mississippi that winter.
Wow.
Okay. And, the lakes froze over. And, sometimes it's just tough to see that. But on the flip side, sometimes it does seem like it's getting warmer. We don't seem to have as much snow each year as we used to. There's other things. We don't have the same amount of bees we used to. There's several things that, don't seem.
There's a lot. And it's we have, as best as we try to go back in history and put data behind everything and build analyses and everything. We've got 200 years worth of data, right? a real, somebody's been measuring something and writing it down and understanding what it is and really, really knowing what those things are. And I think that's pretty clear. Like when you look at that, okay, it's changing. It's getting warmer in this space and what it means. The question that, not that I'm questioning it, but is this cyclical? Have these things come up in the past? And the other piece is it's acknowledging that it's happening. Like, yes, ocean is rising. Temperature empirically is going up. What does that mean? Is this out of our control? Is this just something Mother Nature's doing right now because it's cyclical? Or can we control it a little bit? But at least let's take out some insurance, right? Okay. If it does go down this way, what are we going to do about it?
I don't think that's hard to argue with. Okay. And I'm always kind of like, well, I see this and I see that. I see both sides of the argument. And I'm like, it's just, well, I'd rather be a little cautious, like you said, we could have some insurance against this. And if there's a better way, if we can produce energy from wind, solar, nuclear, and use petroleum mainly for making plastics and the other half of what it's used for, rather than just fueling cars and trucks,
pharmaceuticals, plastics. I mean, there's a lot of petroleum byproducts out there that are used.
Right. But I want to talk about SMRs again. This time we're going to talk about Russia. And so Rosatom put out the first SMR. Okay, it went out in 2020. It sits on a ship up in, it's called the Academic Lomonosov. It has two 35 megawatt reactors in a place called Pevek. Now, this powers a small town with mining site. Now, they're looking at doing their first land-based SMRs. And once again, it's going to be for some remote Arctic communities that do gold mining. Now, they've got something called the Brest OD300 lead-cooled reactor. So this is lead-cooled. Okay. I mean, lead freezes at, I think, 340 degrees Celsius. Super hot. It's really weird to think about something, it liquefies, it melts at 341, kind of thing. This project at a Siberian chemical combine in Seversk, Russia, is finalizing the construction of the Brest OD300. It's a 300 megawatt energy fast neutron SMR cooled by liquid lead. It is a cornerstone pilot plant designed specifically to demonstrate a completely self-sustaining closed loop on a single site. Now, the reason I wanted to talk about this, this is kind of a different technology than anything you and I have ever discussed, whether on the show or off. This strategy is a dual component energy system. They're calling it an overarching strategy up to 2050. It means conventional thermal light water reactors and fast neutron reactors react in tandem, where the spent fuel from one becomes the raw material for the other. So they have the synergistic effect. It utilizes two distinct fuel technologies to recycle uranium and plutonium extracted from spent nuclear fuel. Now, in March of 26, Rosatom successfully concluded a pivotal decades-long milestone, completing the final 18-month pilot industrial operation of a full-scale regenerated mixture fuel assemblies at Unit 1 at the Balaclavo nuclear power plant. This is how it works. Spent fuel from the standard VVER reactors is reprocessed. Instead of separating the plutonium completely, which has proliferation risks, the unseparated mixture of regenerated uranium and plutonium is extracted, topped off with a small amount of freshly enriched, low-enriched uranium, and formed into new fuel pellets. And the advantage of this is the remix has a low plutonium content, under 1.5 to 5%, allowing it to mimic standard uranium fuel perfectly. Traditional light water reactors can burn it without any structural modifications or safety system changes. Rosatom's data shows that this fuel can be recycled and cycled to a reactor up to 5 to 7 times, allowing a reactor to run its entire 60-year lifespan on a heavily recycled closed loop.
Most of it, yeah.
Now we got some chat in Russian.
I bet that was informative.
Yeah, they're listening.
They might work at that plant.
You never know.
So, I mean, it sounds like it's just, I mean, ideally your car runs on premium, but it can also run at 88 octane and 86 octane, and it's just freshen it up a little bit and spruce it up, and it can run right back through.
Yeah, I mean, it seems kind of wild. It'd be like taking the exhaust of your car and running it back through the system again, over and over and over again. But isn't that kind of what turbos do in a car?
Say it again.
I think it's kind of what turbos do in a car. I'm not 100% though. But these fuels have a much higher concentration of plutonium mixed with depleted uranium, which is a massive byproduct of standard enrichment. Rosatom launched pilot operations of a heterogeneous remix or hybrid assembly, replacing MOX fuel rods wrapped in advanced chromium accident-tolerant fuel claddings inside thermal reactors. This hybrid approach is projected to reduce natural uranium consumption by more than 20% in the newer power units. And by doing this, it plans to chemically separate and transmute long-lived radioactive waste. Fission products with shorter half-lives are isolated, vitrified into stable glass, prepared for final geological disposal, removing the burden of managing indefinitely stored high-level spent fuel. You know, we've been talking about this for a while, right? About how newer technologies, while nobody's really talking about it, people are saying, well, you're just going to have more nuclear waste. And in reality, people are really coming up with some ways to get rid of nuclear waste. We talk about that German tech where they're going to reduce the half-life by like 99%.
No, it's all of these things coming out are awesome.
Yeah, I mean, really, these are I saw this, that what Rosatom was doing, and I'm just like, wow, this is really, you know, pretty cutting edge stuff. So,
and it's a thing. for lack of something more eloquent to say it, they're putting it into practice.
A turbo just uses exhaust to spin a fan to boost intake pressure. Okay.
Thank you, Owen. That's
very helpful. Anyways, folks, we've gone over our time today. I'll be back with Bill on Tuesday. Mike and I will probably do Thursday. You said
Thursdays or Fridays. Yeah.
Yeah. Mike and I are going to move to Fridays. So it'll be Bill on Tuesday, Mike on Fridays. And otherwise, folks, everybody have a great week. See you later. Thanks for watching.